Okay, so we might have had a little glitch. With the best of intentions, we were hoping to have this recorded live at the church this morning, and all seemed to go well for about 6 seconds, and then it may have been a failure on the church Wi-Fi that meant that things didn't quite work as we hoped they might. But that's what this is all about. We're trying something very new for us, and it's a learning process that works as long as you learn. So what I'm proposing to do right now is to do the first part of the service again, this time from the study. John has had another meeting to go to, so he won't be able to do his second half, but that's okay. We can get it right next week, and it's a constant learning process, and we're doing our best, so hopefully you'll be understanding about that. So this is the first part of the service. We began by watching a video of a lady singing in her kitchen, Open the Eyes of Her Heart, Lord, and it was that I did that because with permission, because it showed that we may not be able to sing in the church at the moment, but that doesn't stop you singing in your kitchen, doing your dishes, whatever, practicing the presence of God. And it's something that is a good discipline to do anyway. I'm told by my source for this video that there's a good backstory to this, and when I know what that backstory is, I'll relay that with permission to you as well, because backstories often add a sense of depth to what we're listening to. So our opening worship this morning was reading, and this is why I'm not going to sing it. We read What a Friend We Have in Jesus, because sometimes when we sing songs, we sing them with great gusto, and it's great fun, and it's lovely, but we forget about the words we're actually singing. So listen to the words as I read them to you. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit, oh, what needless pain we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Are we weak and heavy laden, cumbered with a load of care? Jesus is our only refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Do your friends despise, forsake you? Take it to the Lord in prayer. In his arms he'll take and shield you. You will find a solace there. I then took a reading from a very helpful, inspiring book by Nick Fawcett called Are You Listening? A kind of conversation prayers between a prayer and God. And this one's called Another Day. Let's pray. Another day, Lord. Another morning full of promise and opportunity. Or so they tell me. Only it isn't. Not for me. It's another day, just like yesterday and the day before. Nothing different. Nothing to look forward to. Just me, alone, again. I'll sit in the same old chair, stare at the same old wall, think the same old thoughts. I'll watch the television program I'd no wish to watch, read the book I'd no desire to read, knit the jumper that no one will wear, all in an attempt to feel part of this world, a little less lonely, a little less forgotten, a fraction more important. But it won't work, for all I crave is not words but company, the touch of a human hand, the smile of a human face, the warmth of a human soul. Commonplace to some, perhaps, but for me, priceless, a gift beyond measure. Another day, Lord, and I know I ought to thank you for it, but I don't, for once more I know I must live it alone. My child, you are not alone. Never say that. Whatever else, I am with you always to the very end of time. There is nothing that can keep us apart, nothing that can finally come between us. For even when you do not see it, when you have no inkling as to my presence, I am there by your side, watching over you, reaching out, wanting to bless. But yes, I know you want more than that. You want flesh and blood, real as you are. And that's why I'm asking you to stop and think for a moment not of your pain, but that of others. And there's a whole world out there feeling just as you do, a multitude of yearning, aching people crying out for love. And it doesn't take much to help them. Just a friendly word, a gentle touch, an outstretched hand, and life can be so different, not just for them but for you. Pick up the telephone, offer that invitation, make the first move, and the result may surprise you. Not just one prayer answered, but 2. It's up to you. You can sit back, feeling sorry for yourself, waiting for someone else to make the first move, or you can reach out and discover the new day that I long to give you. Amen. Our first reading this morning was from Daniel chapter 6, reading verses 10 to 14. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God just as he had done before. And then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or human being except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into the lion's den? The king answered, The decree stands, in accordance with the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be repealed. Then they said to the king, Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sunset to save him. Over these live stream services from the Man's Study, you have heard me speak about the different places that I have turned to for inspiration. And one has been a church in North Dakota in America, where my friend Mike Score ministers in a big team of people. There are a good 8 or 9 on the team, including his wife, who's newly ordained. Each one has got a great gifting, and it's great to see them fulfill their ordination. He has a thing for DIY, so we have nothing in common there. His happy place is a converted garage which is taking shape into a workshop, a little bit like Gibbs in NCIS. My happy place is a sauna or a steam room or a golf course, but we both use these places to think and get close to God. We're thinking today about prayer and about forgiveness, and Mike has allowed me to tell you of his experience of these subjects. Mike's back garden is a big space, and he's happy looking after it in various ways. He had a tree that he knew was diseased and had to come down sometime, and when a branch fell off, he knew the time had come for that to happen. Mike was at home with using a chainsaw and happily lopped off branch after branch and then started cutting the trunk back down, and soon he had a pile of wood in the backyard and he had to think about what he was going to do with this. He realised that he was going to have to hire a trailer to take it away, and that would cost money, and he would have a dumping fee that was heading his way too. And then he had one of those flashes of inspirations. Get a wood chipper! And then he could spread the chips around the garden, save all that money, and the garden might get some benefit from it too. Now he had to clear this purchase past his wife, who, to his great surprise, said, "Yeah, great idea, go ahead." Well, once he'd picked his jaw up from the floor, his enthusiasm was up, and he googled the cost of wood chippers and found one that would do the job, and best of all, the local hardware store had that one in stock. So he rushed down, bought it, got it out of its packaging, and without thinking pulled the start cord, and the machine sprang into life, and he started chucking into the wood chipper, and it started chucking the chips out the other end. His joy knew no bounds. But it lasted just shy of about 5 minutes when the engine stopped. He stood and looked at it, and then he realised that it had seized up. And that was the moment he realised his stupidity. He had forgotten to check the oil. Then he had an idea that probably only we clergy have. God heals people, right? So maybe he would heal the wood chipper. He actually got down on one knee, placed his hand on the wood chipper, and prayed for the healing of the machine. And he was surprised when he felt a voice say, "Mike, the machine's good." He jumped up and tried to pull the cord, but it only moved slightly. Had he been hearing things? Was it just wishful thinking? He thought for a second and realised that the only way out of this was to get another wood chipper. He came back with that, and this time read the instructions. There was the place for the oil. Then he discovered that there were 2 points where you could put in the wood. The big stuff had to go in horizontally, and the little stuff had to go in through the top. But the big stuff he had done was putting it into where the little stuff had gone. Failure to do the right thing would result in the blades becoming jammed, and sheepishly he went back to the non-functioning wood chipper to see the gummed up blades, and after cleaning them out he pulled the cord, after putting the oil in, and it sprang to life once again. God had protected the machine from Mike's stupidity. Mike spoke about prayer as not only working, but having yes, no, and wait as answers. But in the light of his experience, he wanted to add a 4th one. Are you kidding me? And I quite like that one. Mike was comfortable with his use of prayer. He and Daniel would be fine together. Daniel prayed 3 times a day, and it was his daily habit. Now for us Scots, prayer tends to be a very private thing. We will pray together in services, but not too often with other people. I wonder why that is. Presbyterian can be anagrammed to best in prayer, and there was a time when that could have been said of the Kirk in Scotland. But is that true now? God waits to answer our prayers. God delights to answer our prayers. And if we feel that that's not the case, maybe it's a case that we need to get our listening ears on, to listen for that still small voice that the hymn speaks of, or better still, to find God in that deep silence when we spend time with him. When do you pray? How do you pray? Do you bother? Do you give space for those moments when you can chat to God? When he can chat to you? When he can say, "It's okay, I've got you covered. I've got you in my arms. Don't stress. You're not alone. I'm with you to the end of the age. It's okay." John went on to talk about the Lord's Prayer and about the need for forgiveness. And forgiveness is a big thing. It releases a lot of weight from you. He spoke about John Bunyan with Pilgrim carrying his weight up to the top of the hill of the cross and leaving it there. And that liberation that comes from that. But we're quite good at, when we walk away from the cross, to pick it up again. And then we wonder why we're tired. We wonder why we're jaded. We wonder why we feel a bit oppressed about things. God takes care of that. John spoke about an incident with Corrie ten Boom, who was taken to a concentration camp, and her father died on the journey, and her sister was beaten up and killed in a concentration camp, and life was hellish as it was for everybody there. But she held on to her faith, and she wrote a book called, I think, The Hiding Place. And she ended up doing a book tour with that, and on the book tour she ended up in a church where she came face to face with one of the guards from the prison camp. And everything in her screamed to continue hating the man. But that still small voice said, no, forgive him. And when she did that, she said the words, I forgive you. She put out her arms, and the guy collapsed into a hug, because he was desperately needing to hear that. And when you don't forgive people, that's the kind of thing that niggles away at you and eats away at your soul. And the only person that wins is the hate. And that's not what Christianity is about. That was what John was telling us about today. An important message. Hopefully, next week we'll sort out the niggles with the internet, and we'll be able to say hello live from the church. And we'll sort these things out. We'll learn. We hope that your patience will still be with us. It's been great to see people popping back in to worship, and a couple of lovely things happened today, but that's not for now. And we'll journey on together, and we emphasize that word, together. God bless, stay safe, and be well, and know that God is with you.